Hey, what's up? My name is Jakaya Cabell, and I'm an LA-based writer and multidisciplinary artist. And today I wanted to talk about a 365-day creative writing challenge that I challenged myself to in December of 2020. And I completed the challenge in December 2021. I'm making this video in January 2023. So it's been a little over a year since I completed the challenge, and I want to talk about in this video what I learned writing every day, why I did the challenge, and how it feels to be a year out, and what my writing process was then as compared to now. And at the end of this video, if you watch the whole thing, I'll be prompting you to join me on another 365-day creative writing challenge, or if you're an artist of another medium, you can totally do something within your area of expertise. But the goal and the point of this challenge is to create something meaningful every single day and do something that will allow you to better your craft and become more in tune with your creative process and everything that it is that you want to create. And without further ado, let's get right into it. The first thing I want to talk about today is why I did the creative writing challenge. And this challenge was actually inspired by a graphic designer that I follow. Her name is I Am Jessia on Twitter, and she's amazing. And for a year, she would post a graphic design or visual or some type of design that she worked on for the day. And it was so inspiring to see how her work evolved and how she was experimenting with colors and photographs and textures and using design as a storytelling device. And one day she said, I feel like everybody should do a creative challenge, for whatever medium they're in. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is my sign to do it, And when I got that prompt, I was like, I have to take action on this, because I'm saying that I'm a writer, but I don't really have any finished samples that I would share if anybody asked me to provide them, or I'm not proud of any of the work that I've written in a while. I haven't really written in such a long time. So there was a lot of inconsistencies with the identity of what I was calling myself as a writer and what my habits were. And I had to take some time to really get clear on what it was that I could, achieve from completing this challenge. And that is kind of like why I got into it and why I decided to take that leap of faith and just dedicate myself to my craft. And so I started this challenge in December of 2020. I believe it was December 2nd, 2020. So I have my first entry that I wrote, which is on the end. It was like the last 2 pages of a notebook. And it was a real short story that I wrote. This is the first page, right? So it says, December 1st, actually, 2020. What is my 365-day challenge? How do I want to do it? Writing is the focus. Short stories based on redacted, related to the book. We just bumped this album, so let's listen to it and write. So I wrote a short story, and then after that I had got another notebook where I used the rest of the challenge. But this was maybe 60 days. I thought this was gonna last 200 days because it's 200 pages, but it lasted me 60 days. And it was kind of wild because I was like, oh shit, I'm really running through journals. So I guess now I can talk about how I did it and a little bit of my process, because as you can see, I was writing by hand for this writing challenge. And that's actually something that a lot of writers talk about. Spike Lee, Neil Gaiman, a lot of writers suggest writing your first drafts on paper by hand because it's easier to let the ideas flow, and I've noticed this from experience, and also it's just a more cohesive way to get all of your thoughts in one place, like using a single notebook to just write out everything you want to happen in your story or in whatever version of writing you're doing, whether it's nonfiction or fiction or blogging or essays, whatever it is. It's a good way to get the ideas rolling versus typing, Now, how I did it and like the formula. So when I first intended to do the challenge, my main goal, like I said, was to create something meaningful every day. And I wanted to write something that just allowed me to explore my skills as a writer. And at first I was very, very ambitious with it. Like I was like, okay, we're gonna write a single short story every single day, and we're gonna like do a full like beginning, middle, end. Like that's what we're gonna work on every single day. And at first it was like fun and like it was cool because I was really like putting my mind to work, and I was like really testing myself and seeing how great I can be as a storyteller. And it was, I'll get into that later in a second actually. And I was writing a short story every single day, and it was just very ambitious of me. And I got burnt out really fast. Maybe about like 20 days in, I was like, okay, like this is awesome because I could see how much I was growing just in how I was writing, my style, and different things like that, and how I was like generating ideas. But I was like, this is kind of a lot. So around day 20, I like restructured it, and I was like, okay, we can just write something every day. It doesn't have to necessarily be a short story. You can maybe outline a short story, or you can work on a portion of an outline. You don't have to finish something every single day. You don't have to finish a chapter every single day. You don't have to do anything you have to do something every single day, but it's about consistency and it's about small steps. You don't have to like take these giant leaps every single time because you don't have to take these giant leaps every single time because you feel like that's progress. You're gonna burn yourself out. And that's what I did to myself. This is me talking to myself, by the way. And so I allowed myself a little more flexibility with how I would go about the challenge. I was like, okay, we can maybe do some short stories, we can do some outlines, we can do poetry, we can do a song, and sometimes we'll write pages, sometimes we'll write a line, a sentence, and that was important for me to allow myself to do because I would have burnt myself out 20 days in and I still had 340 days left, and it was important for me to do that and to give myself grace because it was like, yo, I see that you're trying, you want to do this, so let me make this easier and fun for myself. Like it was fun to write all those short stories, but I would do better if I allowed my creativity to just go where it's called that day. If it's like, okay, let's work on some music today, let's write a song, that's a writing process, that's how I express myself. I express myself through music. I express myself through dialogue with my characters. I express myself through journaling. I just allowed myself to really express in whatever medium wanted to be expressed that day. And that's kind of like the main scenario that kept me afloat. And then also just having grace and being patient and allowing myself to just take my time, not rush. There were days that I missed the challenge, but if I missed a day, I would make sure the next day I kind of like did something that made me feel like I accomplished things. But at the end of the day, it was just about trusting my instincts creatively. And I feel like that was important to do as a writer, especially when you're just starting out. And this actually ties into one of the questions that I got. I asked my Instagram and Twitter followers to leave me a couple of questions that I would answer in this video, and we'll do that at the end as well. My writing process now is very similar to what it was then. I like to listen to music when I write. Sometimes I write in silence. It just depends on my mood for the day, but I do like to listen to music when I write. I like to listen to all kinds of music because when I listen to music, I can see stories and I can see visuals, and it inspires ideas in me, the lyrics sometimes, but sometimes I listen to instrumental stuff, sometimes I listen to classical, sometimes I listen to jazz, and it just depends on the day, the vibe, you know, and it's just a vibe. And so when I first started the challenge, I was listening to specific artists, and I was like, okay, we're gonna listen to all of Sir's music, we're gonna listen to all of Tame Impala's music, we're gonna listen to all of Sade's music, and we're gonna just allow these artists to help inspire stories, right? Now, one of the interesting things about writing with music that I realized the other night is that you can kind of trigger a creative flow state, or like, you know, just like losing track of time if you play a single song on a loop while you're writing. And if you use a song that is related to your story, or like inspires the characters, or inspires you to like dive in, and you just like hone in on the story, you have this song playing on repeat, you'll realize that you've been writing for like 4 hours and you wrote 2,000 words. And it was just like a blink of an eye. Like you just fully dived into your story because the song is just playing on repeat. You don't know how many minutes are passing after a while. It just all starts to feel very natural, and your subconscious mind comes in, and then you start channeling because you're really tapped into divine creativity, and then boom, you just wrote a fucking amazing 40 pages. I did that the other night and it was fucking crazy. And I did it the second night in a row, but I don't recommend like doing it a lot because you'll burn yourself out. You gotta trust the creative process. Sometimes you want to write 30 words, 550, you want to write 10 pages, you know, just don't put too much pressure on yourself and allow each day to unfold as it should, and just do your best every day. That's the goal. Just write every single day, even if it's for 5 minutes. You understand? That's what I did. And that was my process, and that's what I still do. And honestly, it's been extremely beneficial. I feel like I am becoming more, like it's becoming more of a habit too. It's like, okay, like we're just gonna do it, we're gonna write today. And then I feel so accomplished because I know it's a goal that I wanna achieve, and I know it's something that really makes me happy, and it's something that I really love to do. And it just feels so good. So it's like, I want to do this. And that's why I'm deciding to do another 365-day challenge, because I'm working on a project that I would really love to complete. And I feel like I'm gonna be writing every day this year. So I might as well commit to another year of writing every day, and then also bring everybody along for the ride and show them and share with them, you know, some of my process and how I did it. Because last time I was very isolated and I didn't share any of my work. I still haven't shared any of my work, and it's because I was not very confident in my skills as a writer. So I felt like I couldn't share the process. But now, and that's why I'm making this video a year later, because I've just been like it's just been so much. And now I'm here and I'm making this video because now I want to share my process, and I want to like encourage others to do the same, because I know what it's like to be a writer and not writing every day, and also wanting to but not really knowing how to overcome procrastination or overcome overthinking, or to overcome the parts of you that are fearful of what's going to come out on the page. I know what it's like, so I just want to talk about that, share that process with you guys, and also just encourage you to keep going and to create something meaningful this year. So now let's get on to the next topic, which is how it felt after I completed the writing challenge. So in December of 2021, it felt amazing, honestly. It felt really good to have completed the challenge. I was honestly shocked because I was like, damn, like I've been so inconsistent before. It's a huge surprise that I've actually completed and achieved this. And I was really proud and I was really happy. And it felt really good, and I wanted to start another challenge right then, and I kind of did, but then I was like, wait, just allow yourself to bask in this moment. You don't have to commit to this. Like, you can take a couple days off, like you did a full year of writing. You don't have to jump right into another challenge to prove to yourself anything. You already proved to yourself that you believe in yourself enough to even write every single day. And I just felt very accomplished at the end of it. And I was very pleased with the body of work that I produced over the years, or over the year, which was some short stories, some poems, some songs. I generated a lot of ideas. I did outlines. Like, I felt like I really allowed myself to use my imagination as a writer and really create things that have been living in my mind for such a long time. And now, how I feel a year later, and how I feel a year later, but also with the intention that I know that I need to do this again so that I can really achieve one of my biggest goals as of right now as a writer, which is publishing my first novel and sharing my story with the world. Now, a year later, it feels really good because this year I did a lot of writing. I feel like I achieved a lot of progress with my novel. Even though it's not done yet, and I, at the beginning of the year, thought it would be done, but I really did not put enough time at the beginning of the year to make sure that could happen. But it also is just a part of the natural process. I have to live life. You can't just stay holed up in a room writing all day. You have to live life and live experiences and get inspiration from the world, the people at the grocery store, the people in traffic. You have to get inspired by the people you bump into. You have to hear conversations that are synchronicities to whatever you're writing at the time. You have to allow yourself these moments of like living life in order to create. And so I did that, and I realized that I got another chapter for the book. Like this summer, I literally got another chapter for the book. And it's fucking amazing because I was like, oh shit, that's why the book isn't done. Because you went through some fucking crazy shit this summer. And like, I be saying this. I be saying my life is a fucking movie. My life is a fucking movie, bro. Like, I'm literally not even joking. Like, everything is like crazy. Everything is like, just, it's... Life is a fucking movie in the best way possible. I'm the main character of my story. You're the main character of your story. We're all the main characters of our own story. And we're in this massive multiplayer movie role-playing game, existing and coexisting and interacting and changing our trajectories because of our connections. And it's fucking amazing. Now, that's how I feel 1 year later, after creating my writing challenge. And like I said, I just want to complete my book, and I want to take the time to dedicate myself to it. And I already set the intention of writing every single day this year. So with me and the timing of this video, I felt like it would be right for me to start another challenge, and then also share, like I said, share the process. And what I'll be doing with this challenge is every day on my Twitter and my Instagram, which I'll link in the description box below, I'll be sharing a line of prose from my current work in progress. And there will be like a documented thread of a line of prose from this version of the novel. And then you guys will probably get to see it if it stays once the book is published, you know? And I feel like that'll be just a fun way to like share a little tidbit of what I'm working on without revealing too much of the storyline or too much of like the details that I just want to be an ultimate surprise. So if that excites you, I think you should totally join me by creating something meaningful every single day. And with that, I think it will be such a great opportunity to just have accountability, you know, and I want to be held accountable, and I want you guys to hold me accountable, and I will hold you accountable as we do this process together. And we look back on ourselves a year from now, and we're extremely proud and satisfied with the fact that we actually did it. You know what I mean? So that's what I'll be doing. And after this video is posted, that's when day one starts. So if you're joining me, let's do it. Whenever you watch this video, that's when day one starts. And just know that you have a support system here, and it's gonna be there, and you can interact with us and all of us. I hope that we're all gonna do this together, because I don't know, I just feel like it should be such a fun time. And like, we're artists, and this year is about dedicating ourselves to our craft and like really elevating our skills and being the people who we say we are. Like truly, 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 truly. Now, with that said, I'm really excited about this because I've been writing some really fire prose lately. And I don't know if I said this, but I'll be sharing a line of prose or dialogue from my current work in progress, which will be very fun. I think, just so people can be like, oh shit, like I just want to share that process, because the book is coming, it's almost done, and it's just like a matter of time. So I'm like, I just want to share that process and show people like, you know, this is what I'm doing right now. And it's also just a way for me to market myself as an author and just put myself out there more as a writer, you know? Okay, so I'm gonna look on my Twitter to see if there are any more questions. My followers asked me a couple of questions, and the first question is, how did you win the battle on procrastination? I won the battle on procrastination by, honestly, it was really just my goal, my end goal. And I'm not gonna say I didn't procrastinate. There were days where I wouldn't write until like nighttime. I prefer to write in the morning, like when it's like really dark outside, maybe like 4 or 5-ish, 6, sometimes even 11. That's a little sweet spot. But I like to write when it's very quiet. And in the beginning, it was very inspiring to me because I was just listening to music, like I mentioned. That was like my process, and like music inspires me. So I would just make it a part of my morning routine. And when you think about procrastination, you got to realize that it's fear. It's a fear of something. It's a fear of failure. It's a fear of getting the wrong answer. It's a fear of hearing something you don't want to hear, seeing something you don't want to hear. It's fear. It's a fear. It's fear manifested in whatever you're procrastinating. So when you're procrastinating on your writing, you're afraid of what's going to come out on the page. And for me also, I just was at a very vulnerable point in my life, and writing has always been the only thing that has helped and healed me throughout my entire life. So I just kind of I allowed myself to write. And like this book, the book that I'm working on, the short stories were a part of the book. So it was like I just had this drive in me that couldn't allow me to procrastinate. And I think that it's important to create something and find something that really inspires you, that you can't give up on. That's the answer. That's how I fought the procrastination. I couldn't give up on this dream that I had. And with that, it allowed me to be consistent. It allowed me to go out every day, get out of bed. First thing I do, take a few minutes to just write down what, like, the first ideas that come to my mind. And knowing that I have all these ideas in my mind, these characters living in my head that want me to express themselves, that want me to tell their stories, these historical moments in my life that want to be intertwined with these fantastical, imaginative pieces of my imagination that want to be expressed. I had all of that living inside of me that just couldn't really, like, I couldn't bear it anymore, just having it in my head, so I had to put it on paper. And I think that's what got me out of it, out of procrastination. But there were days that I did, like I said. It wasn't, it wasn't easy, but that motivation kept me going. My own ideas, my own dreams. And I think that's one of the ways to get out of procrastination, but also acknowledging the fear that is the underlying chain connecting and like latching on to you, but also acknowledging the fear. You have to acknowledge whatever it is that you're afraid of as an artist first. And once you do that, what happens is that you open yourself up to more growth and creativity, and you become more susceptible to new ideas, new forms of expression. And you have to also be okay with creating bad art. That's another thing. I think that's what the main answer is too. You can't be afraid of being a fucking sucky, terrible writer or artist. Like, you're gonna suck at the beginning. You are. Everything sucks. There's a such thing called shitty first drafts. The first draft of every screenplay, script, novel, play, whatever the fuck it is you're writing, the first draft is gonna be shitty unless you're just like a fucking genius. Okay? And I'm talking from experience. Like, your first draft is not gonna be the shit. It's going to be shitty. And that's okay, because you have to finish. You have to finish something. You have to finish something, okay? And then, this is me talking to myself too. If I'm yelling at you, I'm sorry. I love you. I'm not trying to yell. This is just me talking to myself, okay? And I'm gonna just leave that answer there, okay? Because that leads into the next question, okay? And this one, it might be a little bit, like, it might be a lot, okay? Because I'm gonna tell you what the truth is, because this is fear as well. Both of these questions, the answer stems from acknowledging fear. So the second question, how do you get focused when you write? Because whenever I write, I think of 10 ways of how to write one sentence or paragraph, and I usually struggle with choosing the one I like the most. Now, you're focused too much on editing when you need to be focused on writing, okay? And you're focused too much on trying to have a perfect paragraph and a perfect sentence. If you're thinking of 10 different ways to write it, your sentence is not gonna, you're gonna have a perfect paragraph of a novel that you want to write? Like, you have to, like, this is me. I was this person. You can't do that. You have to move on. You have to let go.
Okay, Mr. Essay, I say, prepare to be written. I'm doing it. I'm doing it. Yeah. Yeah. In some of these, in some of these. Almost there and done. Now let's see how it looks so far.
You have to move on, and you have to let go, and you have to let yourself write, and you can't keep going back and editing. And when you get stuck on something, just move on. Like, for example, for me, I have a couple chapters in my book that are half written, because I was like, okay, I'm a little stuck here, but I want to write something else. And there's this other part of the story that's really calling me right now. Let me jump into that. And then I'll write some of that. And it's like, okay, now let's get this part. And it's like, you have to just continue to move on, because if you're focused on trying to have the perfect sentence or the perfect paragraph or the perfect chapter, that's such a small piece of a larger project, right? You can't do that. So how I stay focused is I just honestly, let me ponder this. Let me take a little smoke break. Smoke it if you got it. This is the chillax part of the vibe, okay? Because yeah, let me think about this. How do I stay focused when I write? Because whenever I write, I think of 10 ways of how to write one sentence or paragraph, and I usually struggle with choosing the one I like the most. How do I stay focused? I mean, the thing that keeps me focused is probably just the fact that I want to be done with this project. In this particular instance. But I guess I stay focused by, this took a lot of training too, because I've watched YouTube videos about this where they talk about how as a writer you want to continue to self-edit like really early in the stages. But the thing is, if you continuously work on one paragraph, one sentence 10 different times, you're not gonna have a finished draft. You're not gonna be able to see your progression as a writer over several works if you're constantly stuck on one single sentence. How will you, like, if you're stuck on one sentence, one paragraph, how will you know what it's like to be a third best-selling New York Times author? Because you're still stuck on that first draft of that one thing that you had an idea from 5 years ago. This is me talking to myself. You know what I mean? So I guess I stayed focused by unlearning, and you have to unattach yourself from the outcome. And also maybe it's stemming from you thinking about people are going to read it. So maybe you should just like not think about people reading it and just write like no one's going to read it. And don't worry about making it perfect and make it shitty, so that you can continue to just be a good writer and grow as a writer. Because you writing the same sentence 10 times doesn't necessarily improve your skills as a writer. It just helps you write the same sentence 10 times. And unless you're going to use that same sentence throughout your entire book or story or whatever it is you're working on, I don't think that's an ideal way to go about it. So focus for me stems from understanding that when I'm doing that, it's out of fear, and it's a way to be stagnant as a writer. And I think it also just goes back to that main goal. You have to know what your intention is. Why are you writing? Why are you doing this? Why is this important to you? What is your ultimate goal? I know that it's about having a intention, having a goal of what you're trying to create every day. The last question we have is, what themes do I find myself gravitating towards or returning to while writing? I think that what I write about the most is love, and not just romantic love, but mostly romantic love, but also just the different expressions of it. And I also find myself writing a lot about death and grief and loss and what it feels like to lose somebody. Um, and those are kind of the themes that recur. I also gravitate towards just pain. I feel like pain is something that we all feel and we all respond to differently, and the different manifestations of it. And all of this in the context of my family. I'm very interested in my personal family history and like the things that we've experienced as a family, what my uncles have experienced, what my aunts, my mom, my grandmother, my grandfather, just like being Black in America. I think that's really what I gravitate towards, and that's what a lot of my work revolves around. Those are the greater themes of my work, is really just my culture, my history, and how generational curses, like this is kind of like the grand zeitgeist of it all, how generational curses manifested in my bloodline, and how I've been doing the work to overcome them and to learn from them, and seeing patterns and being able to express those things. And I just love our culture. I love being Black. I love being who I am and the people that I come from. And it's an honor to express that and to write about it. But those are kind of some of the greater themes that I write about. Also, spirituality, music. I love writing about music. I love writing about time. I love writing about memory. I love writing about expression and archetypes and films, and all of those things mushed together into everything that I just said. I just love to write, and I love to write about the human experience. Okay, so we're back a little bit later in the day. I got some more questions while I was recording the video, so I wanted to just answer them all in one go, so you guys can have this in one concise place. And let's get right into it. So the next question I got is, where the fuck do I start? And each of the questions that the people asked while I was recording, I kind of touched on throughout the video, but to directly answer these questions, I want to just have them, in one section at the end so people can like get a general answer, right? So where the fuck do I start? You start by setting an intention for what it is that you want. What it is that you want to create. What is your goal? Where do you want to be a year from now? And this is something you can use across every aspect of your life. Creatively, where do you want to be a year from now? Where do you want to go? How do you want to feel? What do you want to create? And with setting those intentions, it becomes easier to start, because okay, this is where I'm going. Now I just have to take steps towards that direction every single day. So it starts with setting an intention of what you want to create, and then from there you just motivate yourself and you do it, and you go hard and you go out of your way to do something different than what you usually do, which is probably not doing the thing that you're setting your intention to do. So that's really where you start. You start with intention. Do nothing without intention. Set a goal and commit to going after that goal, and commit to doing it every day, even if just for a few minutes. Okay? Is there anything else I'd like to add to that question? Oh, also, block out time every single day. You have to figure out a way to fit this challenge into your lifestyle. Because I know we work, we have our schedules, we all have something that we have to do. We have obligations, we got to pay bills, we got to pay rent, we got to take care of ourselves, we got to take care of our family. So you have to allow this challenge to fit into your lifestyle. If you only really have 20 minutes a day to do something creative, then use that 20 minutes, but you have to do it, and you have to be like, this is the 20 minutes every day that I'm going to do this thing. And it's best if it's the same time every day, because now you're building a routine. Repetition is how you train the subconscious mind to start to form new habits, right? So allow it to fit into your lifestyle. If you are just going to jump out, okay, 4 hours every day I need to be writing, calm down. You don't have to jump in and do that unless you have 4 hours and you want to do that. But give yourself time to start small, because it's easier to start small and build up versus starting big and then going small. We start to feel like failures when we do that. So don't overwhelm yourself. Give yourself grace and be patient with your process. But set time aside every single day to do the thing that you want to do. Also, have fun. You have to have fun. That's where you start. You have fun. You allow yourself to explore and experiment. Don't judge yourself. Be free. Be a child. Be creative. Be imaginative. Be experimental. Give yourself space to have a good time and experiment while you're creating. Like, this is not anything that is, it's not a test. It's just you wanting to better yourself and wanting to better your craft and enjoying that process. Art is fun. Don't think too much. Don't overthink it. Just enjoy yourself. And lastly, be patient and trust the process. That's where you start. The next question that we have is, what positive things did I learn about myself and what do I want to release? The positive things that I learned about myself is that I really am good at what I do, and I am a good writer, and I like how I approach storytelling, and I like the way that I write, and I like the way that I express myself through writing. I really just found out that I'm good at what I do. And what I want to release is that fear of people reading it, the fear of people seeing my vulnerabilities, the fear of sharing my work. And that's what I plan on doing this year, which is why with my creative writing challenge, I will be sharing with you guys a line of dialogue or prose that I'm writing that day with each day of the challenge for the next 365 days, God willing. So yeah, that's what I want to release, and that's what I learned about myself. How did it make me a better writer is the next question. It made me a better writer because I was doing it every day. I was actively working out the muscle. It's like working out. It's like any form of training. You get better with consistency. And so every day I was actually able to see my growth as a writer, and I was able to see how much I was improving and how I was doing well. And then now I'm excited to see how my growth will be over the next year, because I've been actively learning more about the craft. I've been learning more about how to write better prose. I've been learning about how to introduce characters and different ways to show versus tell, and how to use different perspectives, and how to create authentic character voices that don't sound the same, even though I'm the same person writing them, and how to allow my characters to speak through me. So I'm excited to see how I'll grow in that regard, because when I was first writing, it was just me telling the story, and I was like researching writing, and I went to film school. I studied screenwriting and directing, and I know how to develop story and characters, but I wasn't really using a lot of the technical aspects. But then when I go back and read what I was writing, and like watching the master classes and the YouTube videos that I'm watching these days, I'm like, oh shit, that was an example of me doing the show versus tell. So like, I have this natural innate gift to write, and it was just awesome to see how it was evolving over time. And like, it's been over a year since I finished the writing challenge, and it definitely made me a better writer. Like, my characters are so much better. My dialogue, the way that I go about describing things is better. And it's just, that was what I hoped for. And I'm glad that I was able to witness that and see that through the challenge, because I wanted to get better as a writer, and I did. The next question, did writing every day help with your self-talk? Yes, because like I said, I was seeing how much I was improving, and one of the reasons I wasn't writing consistently in the past is because I was afraid, and I had fear, and I didn't think I was a good enough writer, and I was having these great ideas, and I'm like, okay, well, I don't know how to do that. And I would tell myself, I don't know how to write a book, I don't know how to do this, I don't and it's like, okay, well, you're learning as you go. And it did help with my self-talk, because I was like showing myself, like, see, here I am practicing, I'm doing my thing, I'm going at it, I'm doing it every day, look at how good we're getting. And when I would read stuff back, it would be like, damn, that's dope. I'm like, I wrote that, like, and I was very shocked about how proud I was of the stuff that I was writing. So it did improve my self-talk, and like I said, it made me a better writer. And the last question, the final last question, because I came back, like I said, because people asked more questions while I was recording the video twice, is, was it hard to get started and stay consistent throughout it? In the beginning, it was like easy but hard, because I was like putting a lot of pressure on myself of what I was going to create with the challenge. And I was telling myself, okay, you have to do a short story, like I mentioned earlier in the video. But later on, it was hard to stay consistent, because, you know, in the middle of day 180, you still realize you have so many days in front of you. And you're not seeing any progress on the success side of things, or, you know, you're seeing that you're getting better, but at the time I was still so afraid to share my work. And it just was interesting. Like, some days would be harder than others. Some days I would wait until the last minute. Some days I was like, okay, I don't feel like writing today because I'm just tired, or I'm just being really lazy and I'm allowing procrastination to get to me. And on those days, the following day, I would force myself to do it early, and it would be the first thing I do. And I'm like, okay, now you have to make up for yesterday, and you have to go harder, and you have to do what you're supposed to do. And yeah, so I guess to answer your question, sometimes it was hard to stay consistent and get through it, but like I mentioned earlier in the video, I just was so motivated by my need to prove to myself that I could write and put myself in a position to where if people asked me for samples, I had something that I was actually proud of and wanted to share. So that kept me going despite any procrastination or any fear that could have possibly gotten in the way of that. And yeah, so I hope that answers your question. I hope that I answered all of your questions. Thank you guys so much for answering my questions or asking me questions, and for hanging out with me and watching this video. To close out this video, I really just want to talk about the 365-day creative writing challenge or creative artist challenge. Whatever it is that you are, whatever it is that you do, dedicate the next 365 days to bettering yourself as an artist and developing your craft and your skill, learning more, creating every day. And that's what I'm going to be doing. And so to recap what my creative writing challenge is, every day I'm just going to dedicate time to writing every day, whether it's 30 minutes to an hour, if it's 5 minutes. But my main focus right now is finishing this draft of my book so I can start the editing process, and writing every single day so that I can actually achieve this goal. And I will be sharing a line of prose on my Twitter and Instagram from my current work in progress that I wrote that day. So I'll be sharing a line of prose or dialogue that I wrote that day, and I'll be sharing one line of prose or dialogue every day on Twitter and Instagram to show you the process. And I'll be talking a lot about my process and what it is that I'm creating and how it's going and how I feel and my word count and different things of that sort. So with that being said, if you're down to join me on this creative challenge, please do. I would love to see what you guys are creating. If you're an artist, maybe you can dedicate a year to sketching every day. If you're a painter, a year to painting every day. And that doesn't mean creating a new painting every day, but just every day painting and being creative and being expressive, doing studies. You don't even have to paint every day. Do color studies, or just sketch something that you see. Research every day, create something and learn something new about your craft. And if you're a writer, write every single day. Outline your stories, outline your ideas, write your screenplays, do your outlines, do your beat boards, write your novel, write your nonfiction book, write your plays, write in your journal every single day. Figure it out what it is that you want to do. Write your poems. And I think that it will be most important if you have a major project that you're working on that you've been trying to complete. I think this is the perfect time for you to do it. I'll be doing the same thing. You have accountability, like I mentioned earlier. I will be holding myself accountable by sharing with you guys, and I hope that it will be something that you will look forward to, because it's me sharing my process and then also getting you excited about what's coming, because the book is about to be fire. Trust and believe. Like I can't, that's an understatement when I say that. And I'm so excited, and I think that's what keeps me going as a writer. It's this idea that's been living inside of me that wants to be birthed so bad, and I want to create it, and I want to be the vessel that it uses to come out into this world. And I just feel so blessed to be able to create this, and that's what this 365-day challenge is for. So with that said, much love to you all. Tap into my Twitter and Instagram if you want to see the process and if you want to see what I'm writing every day. And day one starts tomorrow, so let's go.